Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to another scene within Amateur the Dark Crusade. The third and final part of our mini-series of this distant domain. And we begin right where we left off. Madeleine has just slain 3 would-be assassins. At least 2 of which she knows to be ghouls. Clearly hired to destroy her on behalf of some foreign hostile power. Alas, it appears our foes underestimated her, for while 3 ghouls is a formidable force, and well-armed ghouls they were. Ultimately, they were beaten and destroyed under Sister Madeleine's greater power and intellect.
Firm but gentle touch.
Well, the ghoul certainly did not have a gentle touch, for one of them frenzied upon his own brethren. A noted advantage for Madeleine during the battle. And as fate has gifted her most charitably. There is actually a bed wrap and a cart not too far away, absent of any particular owner, allowing her to effectively and discreetly use these corpses as evidence against the court that she resides within currently, if she were to so wish.
Madeline is currently making her way to the palace. She's a little annoyed, let's be frank.
Oh, you were assaulted. Well, almost murdered.
She's kind of pissed off. But she's trying to keep her composure. But she will just have a look. She's been invited to the prince's either residence or his official meeting place.
Yeah, it's the big on the screen. It's basically the big old castle for 3 flags. Distinctly a military structure. In no way is it supposed to be a flashy palace. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's as noted before, it's quite utilitarian. It's quite militaristic. It's designed to be fortified, and it really is. If you wanted to take the city, taking this castle would be a massive pain in the ass and probably impossible without very heavy siege weaponry, which you'd have burned through when you got through the walls.
She will go up to the guards and she will say that she is here to see Kasim.
I assume you mean Kasib.
Yeah, Kasim. Kasim, yes, the prince.
Well, they will offer you they'll offer to escort you. They wonder what you want to do with that wagon that you've been pulling along. They're very confused about that. That's, obviously it's like, huh? There is a wild wagon behind you.
She will explain that she has something that she wishes to bring to the prince's attention, which is in that cart, but it is for the prince's eyes only.
They look a bit awkward, and they ask specifically if you're asking them to tell the prince to come down and expect what's in the cart.
No. she will say that she will leave it in the courtyard, but it is proof of a crime that has been committed. Well, more than one crime, I suppose. And if it is required to show this evidence, then she will come down and collect certain things. I'm assuming that it will not be possible to just drag 3 bodies up without them getting, well...
No, that would be in poor taste.
Yes.
And there are
Exactly.
still models around. Again,
Yeah.
it's good for that better out. Alright, so everyone in this game gets common sense for free. I'm going to give you the common sense one that just leaving evidence lying around in the city where the perpetrator is it's
a bad
liable to
idea.
go missing.
Yeah, but no, I totally get that. Is there a place I can store these or hide them?
I mean,
assuming...
you can hide them, but they probably still go missing, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. How, like, is this the courtyard to the palace?
Yeah. I think courtyard, it's literally a dusty old yard, you know, because, you know, it's not much plant life, but yeah. It's basically a courtyard. There's people around, there's walls around. I mean, that makes it even more likely that it's got to go missing, because local authorities might take an interest.
How lit is this place?
How lit? Oh, it's quite well lit. It's a fortress. It's very well lit, actually.
Actually, she will. Then she will actually instruct him that she wants the prince to see this.
All right. They say they will do that. They look a little bit nervous, but they will do it. But because, you know, you're more important than they are.
Still a bit of an odd request, honestly.
Oh yeah, no, they're going to comply. They're just hoping this doesn't get them killed. So yeah, you know, you wait for a good few minutes. And then two individuals end up coming down. First among them is this gentleman, this incredibly large, burly man who you know is the sheriff of this city. And the second is this man, who you know is the seneschal of this city.
Okay. Change of plans? Oh, a little. Oh, okay. And she will greet them. And she will look to the sheriff, I think. And she will just say, I wish to inform you that I was attacked not an hour ago. I was making my way here, and 3 men was quite clear in their intentions of making sure I did not make it out of the alley. They were, at least 2 of them were ghouls. This is the proof. And she just gestures. She doesn't lift over anything or anything. She just, like, kind of gestures over to the wagon. However, if you think that I might be lying and that I killed them for some other reason, she's obviously speaking somewhat lowly to these 2, then you are free to look into my mind if you wish to see that I do tell the truth.
Tahir doesn't see. It looks like his brow kind of they kind of raises and like, what the fuck? And then Thoris, and he just wastes no time looking underneath the tarp, effectively, as it were, of this cart. And he sees what you've brought along with you. And he needs to roll something. Oh, he makes it.
That would have been fun if that is what I think it is.
I mean, you only need to survive one attack before you can go to 10 additional. Now, the likelihood of you actually surviving that is fairly slim, but
yes,
not the point.
So, roll for initiative. You better make your initiative, or you're fucked.
There's a brief look on his face of absolute fury before looking straight back at you and between the seneschal. The seneschal kind of looks puzzled. Also, roll perception empathy as you see the seneschal.
I suppose this could apply to both of them.
Yes.
We'll just say retroactively that Madeline just looks at both. Wow.
Life doesn't matter to you. Moving on. Tahir looks furious for a brief moment. Looks between you and the seneschal.
Well, it depends. Just if Auspex applies, because Madeline would probably have Auspex activated at this point since she's somewhat suspicious of this whole deal. Plus, she has a fairly good idea of who did this.
You always need to declare Auspex before a roll is made. You can't make it retroactively.
She knows that one of them was forced to say who sent them, and he managed to say Luf. And she knows that the seneschal's name is Lufti. So, yes. She might not detect anything, but she's got a pretty good idea of who's doing what here. But, well.
Yes. Or you need to declare before the roll is made. You always need to do that. Same with all power.
I know. Just saying.
If you want it active now, that's fine. And then I'll consider it active until you say you want to turn it off. And I'll note to you when you risk overstimulation unless it takes you by surprise. But
yeah, that's totally fine. It has to happen sometimes.
Yeah, so turn on your. I mean, so for this roll, you're not able to see much, but you turn on your specs on retroactively.
That's fine. That's fine.
Which so you're prepped for what might happen. You're ready to see this guy's reaction. You already see everyone's reaction. So his reaction is not exactly hidden. Again, he looks furious for a moment before he looks back between you and the seneschal and says, One of these men is mine. What is this?
Well, if I knew why I was attacked, I would tell you, but honestly, I do not know.
My men would not attack you. Do not be ridiculous. I give my word for your protection. These two others are the seneschals. He looks directly at the seneschal. What is happening? Why do you have the bodies of 3 ghouls? One of which is mine. You say you were attacked.
Because I was followed and attacked.
I would not send one of my men to kill you. I would have done so myself if I so wished it. I did not.
I do not believe you did.
I do not know where the Seneschal's men are here. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, perhaps we should take this conversation with the prince.
Yes, quite. Indeed. This is frustrating on many levels. Have these moved? He kind of says to the other two guards, and they're like, yep. They begin immediately moving that cart, cover up the bodies, and move them the fuck out of the way. Do not let those bodies out of your sight for even a second, or I'll have both your heads. Seneschal just kind of like, just kind of, yeah. His back kind of rears up, his eyes kind of widen a little bit, saying, like, I'm not going anywhere near that fire. And we'll just pace away from the whole situation, kind of hurries off before the rest of you. Tahir doesn't really take his eyes off you at this point.
Madeline will try to keep pace with him. And she will actually speak out to Lufti and just ask him of certain things. Does he ignore that?
And what do you ask him?
Seneschal, please. While we walk, may I have... I am quite alarmed by this, but I must ask you one thing. Has this ever happened? Has someone been so outwardly attacked before?
No, and I find this situation all quite ludicrous.
Very well.
I do not appreciate my ghouls being killed with another vein.
And I do not appreciate being attacked while under the protection of this quite noble man, as she points to the sheriff.
Protection that seems to have been willfully contradicted by the deaths of these two gentlemen and and the sheriff's own.
Well,
for the record, yeah, he is basically just straight up accusing you of breaking the maid.
Okay. And yeah, we make our way to the prince.
The prince is there waiting. He seems a little less patient than he was before. He sat upright. His hands are templed. He has parchment in front of him and an ink and quill. He actually seems to have... There's another gentleman by him as well. You do not know, but he is flush with health, so he's probably not a canine. And yeah, the prince is more or less kind of covered in these ramshackle robes as in his overlay.
If they're in the middle of something, Madeline will wait.
Oh no, they're not in the middle of something. They're looking at you.
Oh, okay. She will gracefully curtsy and she will just say, "My prince, I must regretfully inform you that while I was making my way here, I was attacked, apparently by one ghoul of of the sheriff and of one of the sheriff and two of the seneschal's ghouls. She will just shortly describe the alley she was attacked in and what happened. And once she's done, and she will just say,
He just kind of puts his hand up as he described the alleyway, as in for you to stop.
she does.
You don't need to go over every little detail.
I understand, but there is one important detail that I believe you should know. Certain people are gifted with dominate, and it can, even through blood bonds, make people talk. One of these ghouls, did say, I asked him who sent them to kill me, and before his friend cut his head off, he was able to say the start of a name. It started with Luf. That was the only thing before he died. I do believe that there is a person in the court with the name that starts with Luf. Yes?
A statement of which there is no evidence, but there is plenty of evidence that you killed our ghouls within our own domain. Members of a courts, no less.
My mind will be open. If you wish to look, and can look, I will allow you to see that I do not speak lies.
Minds can be deceived. Particularly with those skilled in dominate, no?
Have I
My
dominated
prince,
anyone
this is
here?
ridiculous. She has
Yeah,
broken domain. She just spat on, and he just kind of he just raises his hand. Tahir actually gets pretty close to Lifty. Like, when he sees the prince kind of begin to lose his patience with the seneschal and he has to raise his hand, Tahir kind of just takes a step forward. He's kind of right behind you and the seneschal. Kind of get the feeling that he could kind of just smash your heads together. Can you tell me what your current willpower is right now?
With the new rules, I believe it is 7, because she has been 1.
Okay.
So it's 1 a month. Well, then it's 7. Yeah, it's 7.
Okay. Oh no. Oh no, this is actually really high for him. I thought it was actually a bit lower, but it's actually quite high because it's not manipulation, it's intelligence. Oh my god, wow! That is an incredibly bad roll. And
Wow,
again, you are opening your mind to him, so I don't really know what there aren't actually rules for that because you're willfully letting him into your mind.
Yeah, I don't think you need to roll, actually. Like,
He
well,
probably
we'll
still
have
have to roll just at a lower diff because he could still muck it up on a personal level. Like,
yeah.
you know, it might not be, you might be able to force him out, but just because you're letting him in, he could still trip in through the front door. So he'd probably be a massively lower difficulty.
She is just letting him watch. Like, here you go.
I'm trying to think, like,
But that is a catastrophic roll.
If you'll try again at a higher diff, which I'm going to say will be standard this time, because there's not actually a limit to how many times you can roll this.
Yeah. But that is a horrendous roll.
Actually, his limit is how many times he can spend willpower, because to interact with a kindred's mind, you actually have to spend willpower if you want to invade their mind.
That is
You can leave
4
impressions and you can communicate, but you can't read a mind unless you spend willpower. So he's going to try again. Are you fucking serious? Okay. We're going to try again. This time the difficulty is basically just going to increase until it hits 10. Okay, this time he actually succeeds.
And very well so, but yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he basically has no limit to how many times he can use his power. It's a ridiculous exertion of will. Like, he has to spend 3 willpower points to actually do this. So he is mentally tired at this point. He has a lot of willpower because he's a sorcerer, but even then, that's, you know...
But that is ridiculous. Those 2 rolls are ridiculous.
Those are actually extremely bad rolls. That's actually incredibly bad how terrible those rolls are for above 10 dice. Fucking elders. Like, rolling their best stats and still failing. But
Madeline will probably just either sit down or just stand completely rock.
I mean, he literally just rips into your mind, so it's quite painful, actually. It doesn't do damage to you, but it's not a pleasant experience. It's quite like, you know, you got a fucking headache from this. It's like having a a really bad migraine. He doesn't.
I will just, for the sake of it, just roll because Madeline, she's gonna roll his stamina. I don't know.
Would it be stamina? It would be one of your
manipulation expression to not make a show of that this is not fun.
I'd say you want to make a show of it being like all painful and all that.
Yeah, like she doesn't want to show that this is not funny. And she's somewhat.
You're able to adequately express how painful this is. In fact, you get 4 successes. You're able to make a big show of it. Unfortunately, no one in the court's really sympathetic, just because none of them are really inclined, considering the circumstances.
This is to not show it.
Oh, to not show it. Oh, in which case,
she's.
Okay, that would be. That'd be manipulation subterfuge. So roll additional dice.
That is the roll because her path and stuff.
Yeah, no. Roll additional dice because it's manipulation subterfuge to hide stuff like this.
Yeah.
Okay. But, yeah. So 4 successes, you're fine. Yeah. This situation is very painful. You're able to power through it and hide the pain from everybody else. You look fairly comfortable. You do have seating. You're able to sit down, even though you've been told to sit down, but there is a chair for you. You're not really able to move much while this is happening. You know, you can't really walk around all that much just because it's quite a painful experience, but you're able to kind of sit and look fairly comfortable. You can tell that he's probing your mind pretty aggressively and that he's kind of flicking through the pages of your mind from the last few hours. You can tell when he stops and begins to focus on the events that happened. And then, while this is happening, someone speaks up. My prince, please, this is ridiculous. She has walked all over our domain. destroyed our servants and now attempts to lie to all of us, as the Losombra have done since centuries past. And then it goes silent. Roll perception awareness, because this affects you as well. Actually, yeah, you have all. Oh no, you don't have all specs. You can't. You don't know what this is. But everything goes silent. Everything goes silent. You don't have. You don't have the prerequisite all specs for this.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
If like you need a certain level, and
in that way, silence.
The person invoking this power has quite a high level of obfuscate.
Obviously,
not so much that you wouldn't be able to beat it, but in your particular case, I know he has more than you. Everything goes completely silent, and you can literally see the seneschal mouthing words. As the prince continues flicking through your mind.
Shut up.
You are aware he takes information. Let's have him make a roll to see what he actually takes away from you. Maybe he cheats a little bit like an asshole. I'm gonna have him roll his roll something. Oh yeah, no. So with that roll, he absolutely fucking uses this as an opportunity to go over stuff that has happened in your past. I'm actually, because he can make a roll for that, I'm actually going to see if he's able to take it without your noticing.
Would that be an opposed roll to my...
I'm just double checking. Because, yeah, when you try and look into someone's mind, you can choose to hide it, or at least partially hide it. Okay, so you get to make an intelligence awareness roll. Difficulty is equal to the user's manipulation plus their all specs, which is going to be 1 second, as I just double check if sorcerers actually get this by default in Dark Ages. That's not very helpful. Okay, they do. Okay. Ooh, that's going to be, let's see. His manipulation is not too high, but his all specs is. So that's going to be diff 10. It's not an it's not unrollable.
Spend a willpower nonetheless.
Yep, you can do that. You can absolutely do that.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah, no, he has extremely high because it's a clan discipline and he's an elder. I'm just double checking to see if that's what it is. Just to be completely fair, because oh no, this is where the source of the thought came from. Okay, so okay, no, you're fine. You don't actually have to. I'll say you don't actually have to roll for this. One, because it's very aggressive, and two, because I misread the rules. So you're actually able to tell that because your thoughts inherently are pointed in the direction that he's kind of pulling from you, to some extent or another. Mainly because this is a very aggressive process, which effectively, modified his difficulty. and allowed him to try as hard as he did multiple times. If he were trying to be more subtle, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did. You can tell initially he doesn't actually start a few hours into this night. He starts a few days ago, takes the information about your meeting with yourself and the Seneschal. Actually, no, with you and Ulrich, sorry, not the Seneschal. And basically starts from the beginning of the journey up until that point. Which gives him access to not all of the information. It's fortunate that he didn't go weeks back, but then again, at that point, you'd be here for hours, and neither of you have that sort of time. But he starts way further back than he rightfully should. And you can tell he's absolutely probed information that is not relevant to what you basically said he can probe. So he's flagrantly abusing your hospitality in regards to your mind. He does fast forward through your journey pretty quickly. He gets up to the relevant points in the event, and then ends up going at a fairly regular pace for the next 10 to 15 minutes up to your arrival to this domain, and then just cuts it short. And he starts probing your mind. The area is still completely silent. If you try to talk, you'll find that you cannot speak, or in a sense that your lips move but no sound comes up. Because I'm going to try something else. See him. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god, 3 ones in a row, Jesus. But that's enough. Would you like to make a perception empathy roll, please?
What difficulty?
Just standard. So you get two successes? Two.
Or if true?
Oh no, you have heightened senses, so you get 3.
Okay.
Something's happening with the Seneschal. You're not entirely sure what it is, but he doesn't look like he's having. He looks very. He looks frightened. He looks like he's in a state of near panic. He's and kind of flittering between emotions at a very rapid pace. He's growing panicky, he's growing angry, he's growing very emotional. His posture's slacking. You can tell that he's trying to yell, but there's this again. There aren't no words are coming out of his mouth. And then about 2 minutes, after this has happened, as the Seneschal continues to panic, you can see Tahir just kind of gazing upon the room. And then in the silence, you just see the prince point towards the Seneschal and kind of makes a cutting motion with his 2 fingers, like scissors.
Okay.
And then you see Tahir walk over and silently behead him instantly.
Madeline will sit there, having been through a little bit of a rough mind probing for, well, actually quite an extensive period of time. But she will just sit there and wait. She will look at it and just look at the prince and just nod, not with a smile, but fairly neutral, just nod as she just acknowledges that he'd made a decision.
The silence fades from the room. Ash is kind of scattered all over the table, all over to here, and a bit of it lightly fell upon yourself. There was almost no vitae at all. The kill was so clean and quick that there was actually no real chance for any vitae to splatter. He just died so quickly. I'll need the new seneschal. My apologies.
Thank you.
I did not expect a member of my court to make an attempt upon your life.
Well,
This will be rectified within our negotiations, I assure you. I will not allow a rogue element to try and impart a declaration of war upon your clan.
I am glad to hear this. And she will look to Tahir very quick and just, Tahir, I am sorry to have brought your honor into question when I first arrived, but I believed that this was a matter that concerned the prince as well.
He kind of lightly bows to you in what could be considered a semblance of gratitude, and he just says, your gesture is appreciated, madam.
And she just nods, and just, sits there for a moment and just try to get her bearings on just what happened, and she just,
Know that I do not hold you responsible for my ghoul's death. That is the matter of that most repugnant traitor.
that is the problem, even with good ghouls. They will follow their instructions as best they can. I was not able to dissuade them, as one is hardly able to dissuade a ghoul who have been given instructions.
It is my feeling that he was allowed to fall under that traitor's way. It will not happen again, I can assure you.
And she nods again and just, and she looks over at the prince and just, sits there for a moment, appreciates the fact that this was probably a good and the way for this to go rather than the other.
Yeah, he only violated your mind,
Yeah.
questioned your honesty, and stole information that he had no right to take. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, Madeline will just, so, to the real matter, I suppose.
Yes. Let us bring the negotiations to their beginning. First, allow me to ask, what is it that you want in exchange for... Sorry, what is it that you want in particular? We are where you want aid of a sort. But and not specifically what it is or how much of it.
As you are not that aware, the Holy Land has been a bustle of activity for the mortals and our kind for quite some time now. Many of us in our clan believe that whether or not the war of the usurpers that rages exactly not here, but quite a few places, whether or not that will quiet down, it will be replaced by another war that will come sooner rather than later. I, for one, believe that Clan Nosferatu, for instance, has been gathering strength for quite some time. They were powerful enough to claim Jerusalem. Perhaps they would wish to do so again. There might be other interested parties. The Sethites do not seem to rest easy in, well, any way and in any time. They seem to constantly be active. They are in Edessa as well as other places. Wherever the hammer strike will come from, we intend to be ready. We intend to have a closer relationship with as many who would share our interests as possible.
Historically, our clans have not shared interests. However, you may enlighten us as to what those interests might be. Sorry, what those interests might be.
Well, as you know, Clan Sombra is quite invested in quite a few things at the moment, but for your city specifically, our Timaran and Edessa has a more bustling commerce, given the fact that they are on the Silk Road, and quite a lot of mortals, not more mortals, seem to come through because of this. We have access to seemingly a bit more mortals, a more stable blood source. We have commerce to rival certain others. We would share in this. And I do know that you are also, well, some from your clan do seem to have a certain moral obligation to correctly assess who is indeed guilty, both among our kind and the mortal kind. We have quite a bit of knowledge within the, well, what shall we say, bottom of society and those things that are, for some, unseemly.
Commerce would be appreciated, but we will not take more from the kind than we already do. It is unnecessary of us. As for the guilty, we do have our eyes on several, particularly undiscerning Canaanites, but you may also have an interest in removing from power. The Queen would need assurances from your clan that you would rule more fairly in their place. To replace one tyrant with another would be ultimately a pointless endeavor.
Well, that of course depends on who would be sitting where, but I for myself and my prince do seem that would think that we are quite fair in our dealings. Of course, I cannot speak to every single member of my clan.
I'll actually ask a genuine question. Do you believe the Seneschal to be fair in his dealings?
This, what do you mean, like the
Because you're
prince?
saying you believe them to be fair in their dealings.
No. What she said was like I believe that Ulrich and herself are very
Oh,
fair
fair
rulers,
enough.
but
I see. You're
she
dodging the
can't speak
question.
for every member of her clan because obviously there are some idiots in her clan. That's what she's saying. So she's saying she will also add to it, as it depends on what and who, especially, are chosen. I will do my utmost to make sure that these other people. She looks for a moment. I am assuming that you would have suggestions as to who would take their place, no?
No, we do not know every ensemble within the region.
But perhaps you would have preferences?
It would be upon your clan to provide the alternative.
Well, I will endeavor to make this the fairest judgment from my clan's side, of course.
These specifics are something that can be resolved via less direct communications. Let's keep this to more broader matters.
Very well.
When it comes to commerce, what and how much would be arriving to this domain? In exchange for this commerce, we could provide mobile military support of our own.
Out of character, specifically in this case, I don't know what would be like. Is it like tons, or is it like the amount of loads of commerce, or
Odessa's fucking rich. Timurin isn't actually that much further behind either. I mean, it's a much smaller town, but it's very wealthy for its size. Because they both lie along the Silk Road, and or even if they're not on it, they're very, very close to it. Like it's literally an hour away. It will deal with this in resource levels, but in terms of city size. So it depends on how much you can offer them, like 5 dots of resources in terms of, like, that would be an enormous amount of wealth for a city. You could offer them lower levels. You could offer them 1 dot of resources for a city. You know, the sort of economy that's kind of the bare minimum required to keep it running. Still a significant amount of money if because the city's already functional. So having, just giving, additional resources like that is a big help. But it's far less than the massive amount of income you can get by being a commercial city, a mercantile city, which is what both Odessa and what Odessa is. Timurin is less so, but even Timurin has a heavy mercantile element. But if you went for the highest levels of resources, you would negatively impact the income in Odessa and in Timurin quite noticeably. So it's about finding the balance of finding a compromise, obviously.
yeah. she will try to go to, or as much as possible, the middle way.
Well, keep in mind, there's only so much commercial influence the clan has. Obviously, they don't control every little person, and they don't even run the city.
No, but somewhere where she thinks it's not gonna hurt. Like it maybe hurt a little bit, but
That'll be around 2 resource levels, citywide.
Yeah, like that is what she's probably going to propose, or that is what she's going to propose. Like, well, that depends. Like, is resource level 3, like, what kind of impact would I think it would have? Like, obviously, I can't know.
What's your commerce level?
Uh-oh. That's a good question. I do not
Yeah,
know.
because you're dealing with like kind of wide-ranging economics here. So you either need a commerce level or a seneschal level.
I have 1 in Seneschal.
Roll it difficulty 8, please.
With intelligence?
Yes. Actually, wits, because this is something you're talking about actively. Like, this isn't something you don't have a lot of time to think about.
Wow. Okay, then I'm going to spend a willpower point.
Okay, you're down to 5 willpower.
That's 2.
It's difficulty 8.
Then it's 1.
1. Giving away that sort of... That's a significant amount of wealth. That... So, 1 or 2 citywide level resources wouldn't be too bad because it hurts the lower classes a little bit, or it kind of hits the pockets of the nobles in a way that's not too significant. It would piss them off, but it's not going to hurt them too badly. 3 resources when it becomes a bit more universally wounding. It starts to affect everyone, which can kind of have negative impacts on the social order because everyone is angry at each other. Particularly the common folk towards the higher classes. But even the merchant classes towards the nobles who would believe that effectively their money would be being stolen, which in this case wouldn't necessarily be particularly inaccurate.
She is going to propose 2 then.
We can provide a significant number of military aid towards you in response to this, but it won't exactly be an army.
Well,
Nor do we have control over one.
well,
We can provide you with about... We can provide you with access to several of the local mercenary companies in the region and a significant portion of the city's garrison.
very well.
He's basically offering you 2 military dots of kind of citywide influence that that the region has.
And she will
Keep in mind, there's about 20. It's like there's for the region, there's kind of like 20 dots worth of each influence and resource. With Turin and Edessa, you have like 10 resource dots to spend, but it does affect people. But they're kind of held separately, so it's kind of hard to balance them out correctly.
Well, it is
so you can offer more. You can offer more if you want.
This is what I will be able to give just at the beginning. However, things might change, and this arrangement may be expanded upon in the future.
We will see how the situation develops. Hopefully you will not need to resort to using mortal hosts as your battering rams.
Heaven forbid so.
More importantly, as these are ultimately fairly trivial matters, while we can trade mortal resources, we would not be willing to grant canine aid without far greater concessions. Particularly, your clan has a very mixed reputation of our own. It has not been known to keep its word.
Which is very regrettable. I can only speak for myself in this matter.
We have heard that you have treated our clan much more delicately, and this is appreciated. However, if the Assamite clan is to aid you in any way whatsoever, particularly this domain, and we would negotiate with nearby Assamite domains on your behalf to offer aid, we would need a hard border in the region that the Losombra clan would not attempt to expand past this point and would actively defend this border alongside us to prevent other clans from attempting to seize our domains that are rightfully ours. In exchange, we would lend our own aid. We would lend our assassins to remove your opponent's greatest powers and their figureheads, and we would be willing to provide some lesser degree of mystical aid. So I'm going to show a map for you to basically give context to what he's saying. One moment. So, what he's saying, and he'll outline the border on the map. A lot of this has to be, unfortunately, has to be done out of character in the sense that for me to explain it. So, as you can see here, you can see Amid on this map, right? This is where you are. It's on this river. It's on the northeast side.
Mm-hmm.
He basically has a line that goes across Gaga and Tel Goran, and it's a fair bit in front of Nizibin as well. So basically, Gaga and Tel Goran are effectively the two gates to the east. And that basically would prevent you from moving past these cities. You would not be able to, the Losombra would not be allowed to attempt to take Mardin, Nizibin, infringe on these domains in any capacity. Same goes for Amid. And when Gaga, Telgorin, Mardin, Nizibin, and Amid are under threat, the Losombra would be obligated to defend them alongside the Assamites.
I understand completely what this would entail, but would you not think it better for a communal or a cooperation in dealings of Gaga? If we are to defend the border, we should have some presence with our own border, no? Would it not make more sense that Both clans would have a presence in both cities, Goron and Gargar, for an easier assistance of defending this border. If any assistance were to arrive, they would have to leave from Edessa or even further away. I would think it would be better if there is at least a local presence.
In which case, I would personally request that Talifa of our clan become a recognized resident and harpy of Edessa, not Edessa, sorry, of Timoran.
Madeline will just lean back, nod her head thoughtfully for a moment.
This will enable the clan to keep Volosombra to their word.
Very well. This sounds... This I can accept. It will make communications easier.
How much politics do you have?
She only has 1 in politics.
Okay, roll me wits politics. This is to kind of help you along with the negotiations. And to a lesser extent, kind of help you gauge the intent of how the situation is being handled. Okay, 3 successes is not bad. So obviously with Talifa, he's literally saying, you know, we're basically going to have a diplomat or an emissary in your city to basically make sure that you keep to your word, and if we even get a whiff of it, we're going to fuck you. That's the immediate thing you get from that immediately, because you got 3 successes. That was already kind of implied, but that's being clarified now. 2 other things. Gaga is a Ventrue-controlled domain. So, which has been conveniently left out of this discussion. Telgoran is Assamite-controlled. So you can probably, you actively benefit from having a communal effort in this domain. But with Gaga, you're going to have both of the clans are basically going to have to kick the Ventrue out.
Hmm. All right. Oh, but Madeline is just she will just. Well, there is of course. Gaga is a place that will have to be, well, restructured, I suppose, if this plan is to be enacted.
You provide the political backing for it to happen, and we can arrange for a change in command structure. However, we would request numerous court positions for those who assist in the restructuring of Gaga.
Of course. Again, I believe that a mutually beneficial arrangement would strengthen both clans.
Another thing Clan Assamite would another matter Clan Assamite would bring attention to is the situation of the usurpers within the region.
Oh,
We
yeah.
would need assurances of continued opposition to their presence within the region while we are aligned.
They are quite a problem. I hope that this problem will be dealt with in time, but I will hope that these insurances will not be a problem for me to communicate to the other members of my clan.
Out of character, you're basically given carte blanche to promise whatever you wanted. As you're their diplomat, so you need to, you
Okay.
have the sway to offer these
Then
things.
then she will promise that that is a thing that will happen.
Okay. Yeah, short of saying the entire clan will give up all of their holdings, you can basically promise what you want.
Yeah, of course, but yeah.
Then we will provide a co-position for one of your clanmates within Tolgoron. We will vet the candidates brought forth to us within this area, but we can guarantee that one of them will be given a court position. As for Gaga, we will, if you can provide the sufficient political backing and dissatisfaction with the prince there, we can remove him, and then we can secure a cooperative court between our two clans. In exchange, we will also offer to provide additional support for the protection of Edesse and Tamaran. We will, in exchange, we will have the Harpy of Amida repositioned to Tamaran to ensure the continued cooperation of our two clans.
I look forward to it.
As for the potential for war, you will consider this as an effective mutual defense pact against our enemies. This will include the Tremere, and this will include the Ventru. This may potentially include the Nosferatu. That depends entirely on your prerogative. Considering that our honor has been stained, we would be willing to make this concession. But we would insist that the Ventru and the Assamites be considered mutual enemies of our two clans.
The Ventru and the usurpers, right?
The Ventru and the usurpers. He's also offering, he's basically saying, you know, those are like, that's one of his sticking points, that you need to consider these clans to basically be enemies, like you, to not help them basically. As part of an inter-clan agreement, he's allowing you to add another clan to that list based on the fact that his clan effectively tried to kill you and declare war on your clan, which is not appropriate.
Nope. But yeah, it was. Madeline will just nod and say, "Well, it's." She will emphasize that that certain other factors could be like other clans could be later, and she will just acknowledge that, and she will also say that, or she will just inquire, and she will just. So, a mutually beneficial security for these for this area. Very great, very good.
I will allow you to roll wits politics one more time. Okay, one success. You've talked about a reactive pact in the sense that you'll basically defend this hard border together. The Assamites will support your endeavors in a limited scale, in that they will remove opposition to your clan if war were to begin. But you haven't talked proactive plans. You talked about reacting to what might happen. You haven't talked about what you could do already. You also offered a minor amount of the city's money to go to Amida in exchange. They'll provide mortal military support under the control of the La Sombra clan. But these are largely all reactive things. And also the promise of providing limited mystical aid and assassins towards clan opponents in reaction is still fairly vague. Like, there was the sort of pseudo qualifier that, well, if we actually like the guy, we might not go after him. It's a bit selective. So there's still a bit for you to discuss if you want to continue pushing the discussion. And you haven't declared, you haven't really pushed forward necessarily plans of your own, in the sense that, for example, they were dictating who would be enemies of the clan of La Sombra. You have not necessarily done the same for the Assamites. They've largely been dictating terms to you rather than the other way around. Other than that instance with the economic/military support on a mortal scale.
This, of course, brings us to another matter in this discussion. What will happen in the future might not be just things that happen to us, but plans we might have. I do believe that both of our clans would be able to assist one another with future active plans in the region.
And what would falls entail?
To increase the prestige and presence of both clans, I assume. There are several places I believe could be better led. Of course, this is also things that we can, of course, discuss in the future. But I do believe that we could assist each other in a more proactive way.
Again, I need details. I need an idea of what you want to do. Saying we could proactively assist each other is all well and good, but in what way? Where? Who? How? Primarily.
Out of character, the Seneschal has not mentioned anything of this, right? Am I just being forgetful?
He hasn't mentioned specific places, but he's basically he's given you largely a blank check for the most part. So long as you don't straight up betray the clan again, like, you're pretty good to effectively offer what you want. So, for example, you could outline cities you want to be, as you said, better led, how you want the Assamites to assist in that, and if so, when.
Yes. Although the player specifically, do not know what the state of certain cities around the area is at the
Fair
moment.
enough.
So,
So
like, she would probably suggest a like Ventru or maybe even Toreador. Like, she would probably look at a Toreador city and suggest a joint action against them.
there are a couple of Toreador cities in the region. One is Bira, which is directly to the west of Edesse, and one is Tarse, which is quite far away. At that point, the Assamites and even La Sombra, aren't out of reach there, but the Assamites are stretching their boundaries a little bit.
She would suggest Bira as a target for new leadership, or whatever you want to call it.
Any more you want to offer? Tebessel is a neighboring domain ran largely by Ventru. Antioch is Ventru controlled. Sarouge is La Sombra controlled. And so is Samosate. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Malatia is controlled by Nosferatu. Marak is controlled. Who are they controlled by? Malak is controlled by the Cappadocians, as is Sis. Alep is also controlled by the Lasombra. The Sombra have a pretty heavy region there. They stand to gain a lot. They stand to lose a lot if they kind of slip in control. Haran is a neighboring is also a neighboring Ventru domain. Basically, the Ventru and La Sombra, alongside the Assamites, are the most powerful in the immediate region. But there are a few Cappadocian domains and Toreador domains lying around as well. Mardin and Nisabin are both Assamite controlled.
She would suggest that Bira and Malatai, the northward, the Nosferatu domain, be a joint venture, so to say. And she would also suggest, just as I had mentioned it, that Clan Assamites will not deal with, well, obviously, like, the Ventru is a given for both clans, right? Like, the Clan Ventru is a given, like, no one is going to deal with them.
No one likes the Ventru, between you two.
Okay, I just thought that was a given. So if that is a given, then she is going to try to insist that Clan Assamite will abstain from, like, consider the Toreador a problem.
So they want the Toreador to be put on the hit list as well.
Well, he did say the Nosferatu, yes? Like the Nosferatu.
Potentially.
Well,
he didn't say yes or no on that. He said the Venture and the Tremere, absolutely. The Nosferatu, we thought you didn't like them, basically.
Yeah, she's gonna want to add the Nosferatu.
Okay, that puts Malatia on the hit list.
And she is going to she's probably going to insist that people abstain from making deals with the Toreador, because putting them on the hit list or like on the enemies list is probably pushing it too far.
That's right. I'm just going over a few different domains so I don't get them mixed up. I believe I said Haran was Ventru controlled.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, and that is the Sombra as well.
Depending on how it goes, she's going to put the Nosferatu domain, Bria, the Ventru, and Haran as like the primary targets for future expansion.
Haran, yeah, because Bira goes through Sarouge, so a lot of your Edessa is vulnerable from the east and from the south because Haran is unimpeded. But those who wanted to infiltrate Edessa, they need to go around Sarouge, which would increase their travel time and the risk of it. Particularly if you're out in the wastes, you're going to run into groups who operate during, well, malicious groups, shall we say, who operate during the day and night, so it's a bit risky.
Haran
so
and Nosferatu City to the north will be the main targets for the...
Yes.
And she would emphasize that she expects a mutual cooperation in this endeavor.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cities you're asking them to hit. Wow.
6? No. No.
You've got. Oh, sorry. You don't. You've got. Yeah. So Antioch, Haran, and Tabassel are all under the control of the Ventru.
But she's not going to ask for Antioch. She's only going to ask for Haran and Malatai, or Saya, or whatever you pronounce it.
I'm going to roll 2 chance dices now. The harder number, the better it is for you. Wow, okay. Those are both fucking great numbers for you. So, both the princes within these 2 cities are known for being fairly unpopular and abusive tyrants. Contrary to popular belief, the Assamites generally don't like this because it often means they're not breaking their own rules, which is why Assamites go out to kill people to begin with. So, the prince, you don't know that, by the way, out of character. In character, you don't know that. But the prince kind of looks at your 2 targets. Malatia is a relic of an empire that never even began. Over a century ago, we were one of the clans at the forefront for upon the Nosferatu and their attempts to defile the Holy City and by extension the rest of the Holy Lands. To bring a final end to this would be in our clan's interests. However, like Gaga, we were to request at least a single member of our clan to be rendered members of the court post-conquest. As for Haran, we will give you the liberty to do as you wish there, as we are aware it is a city close to the heart of Edessa and the most influential members of your court.
This I can guarantee.
it's possible, or in fact rather likely, that if, or rather once, war erupts, it will spread much further than this simple region. We would appreciate the favor if you could ensure that your Prince of the Seneschal of Edessa would also send envoys to other cities across the Levant. We will ensure that word of this pact has spread so that negotiations can continue and be emphasized across the nations that make up the Levant. In particular, the Holy Lands. We are aware that your clan has something of an empire there.
Just out of character, he's just wanting to ensure that the word gets spread among both clans.
Yeah, he wants the word to be spread about both clans to emphasize further negotiations across basically the rest of Syria, Israel, Jordan, and Lebanon. Obviously, this is not within your power, and he knows it's not within Asimov's power. He's basically saying, we want to, if you want to make this a thing, we want to fast forward this across the entire country and get it rolling quicker.
She will nod and agree to this. She will emphasize that she needs to get back home before things can happen, but yes.
It is more than fair. I merely make that last request as a favor, so that I hope our clans can continue to negotiate on a larger scale, rather than simply locally.
This would be the best arrangement, I believe.
Most wise. Then I would petition you to stay for an extra night. We will throw an Elysium in honor of our newfound friendship and as an apology towards our former Seneschal's most treacherous deeds towards you.
I am honored.
We shall not make the agreement itself public. It shall merely be an Elysium for you as a guest of honor. We do not want to tip our hand after all.
Of course not.
Once war begins, we will have our forces ready to pounce. We will preemptively begin setting up proxy havens within the relevant cities. Whereas similar to Gaga, you will preemptively provide the necessary political backing for these events to occur without hindrance.
And Madeline will probably write all of this down. Just
there's not. Well, so there's only one person with anything to write, and that's the
scribe.
And that's the scribe, who's basically writing, effectively writing down your words as they're said.
Okay.
Once our Elysiums are complete, we will secure our alliance in writing. We will have 2 copies, one for our clan, one for yours. It will involve our mutual defense pact and our more clandestine activities. Needless to say, this is not only evidence of our alliance, but also evidence of activities that many clans that we oppose would use as evidence to retaliate against us. So ensure that they do not fall into the wrong hands.
I will secure it. Once I get back, I will secure it in the most safest of places.
I have no doubt that you shall deliver it to your prince post-haste. That said, I believe we can bring these negotiations to an end. I'm glad we have been able to reach a most amiable conclusion.
Quite so. I am happy as well.
So, to sum it up immediately, effectively what the transaction here has been. There will be token, not insignificant but not super significant, economic support sent from, on a mortal level, sent from Odessa to Amida. In exchange, there will be greater military support sent to secure Odessa from to effectively protect it from Canite-influenced military forces. As that is one of the greatest threats that can befall a city. An army under the sway of a Canite. There will be a hard border. Tolgoran and Gaga will host the Sombra court members, although they will be nominally controlled by the Assamite as their own princedoms, and it will be a hard border. The Sombra will not be able to expand past this point or invade any cities past that point. Timrin will receive an Assamite harpy known as Talifa, as she is lovely, and you've already met her.
And that will not cause problems at all.
Nope, she's wonderful. As effectively a diplomat to ensure the future cooperation and trust of Clan Sombra because they're ever so reliable.
She's going to have her work cut out for her. Let's just
have an exchange for all of these concessions. And effectively the additional city that the Assamites would acquire as a princedom. They will assist in the conquest of Malatia and Haran. Malatia will be a joint court of Assamite and Lasombra, although Lasombra will rule this city with a princedom, so it will be officially be their princedom. And Haran will be wholly belonging to the Lasombra, as it is of little concern to the Assamites as they personally view it. They will provide more indirect support as the situation develops, although that is dependent on other circumstances relative to war being declared by separate clans. The Assamites and the Lasombra will also cooperate against the Ventru, Nosferatu, and the Tremere in general. But that is more vague and is kind of more long-term, very sort of, we'll make an effort, sort of. It will politically hurt them, we won't go out and kill them in the streets.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah. That's pretty much it. Now the thing is, the player has no idea whether this is good or bad, but you will find out soon enough.
It's lovely. In which case, in any case, yes, the prince will rise from his seat and will offer to shake your hand.
And she will. Yeah, she will. She will put her hand out and shake his hand.
It has been a pleasure doing business with the Clan of Shadows. May it be long and prosperous for us all.
I hope so. She smiles.
My sheriff will show you out. Have a most pleasant evening, and I hope you enjoy the Elysium tomorrow.
Oh, I most certainly will.
You
Have a
think
good.
he cracks like a smile for the first time you've met him under that veil of his. Like there's an air of contentment around him.
Contempt or
Content.
he is content, right?
Content, yes, not contempt. Content.
Yeah, because there's actually a fairly huge difference.
It's like they're the opposite of each other, like they're antonyms.
Almost, but yeah. Um, but she will curtsy and she will find the sheriff.
Well, Sheriff has literally been in the room while this is happening,
All
so
right, he
he's
never
able to
left.
escort you out. And yeah, the next day you'll have a lovely Elysium in your honor. Not on the scale of Odessa, far from it. But it is nice to be the center of attention. Talifa in particular seems to um, enjoy it. And yeah, for once is clamoring for your attention rather than the other way around. At one point, she does draw you to one side, stating that she basically knows what's up and that she'll be happy to see you in Odessa. Not in Odessa, in Tiburon, and Odessa by proxy.
Mm. And Madeline seems quite content and happy with the fact that they're going to see more of each other in the future. One could perhaps guess that these two women are somewhat of the same in certain aspects, but well, that's up
Yes,
to the
it
viewer.
is a rather joyous occasion, even for the Ventru, for as it is declared that Talifa declares that she'll be leaving, Jeremiah is effectively considered the de facto harpy in her stead. Interesting. Things work out.
Quite interesting. Madeline is not going to jump up on a table and say, "Betrayal!" But, oh well.
Well, he is known to not like his clan at all.
That is very much true.
The one good venture in the room. As for the Seneschal, it is merely he is merely stated to have departed from the domain on a long-term basis. Although they have not decided on a new one and will be taking a few years to sort through the applicants, maybe a decade or two. And with that, as Elysium ends, and you are given a very important treaty to send back to your prince. You're able to finally leave the ever so quiet, content, and peaceful city of Amida. I think that's where we can end our scene.
It is. Thank you very much, ST First Team, and watchers for watching, and players for being there, and things. Goodbye.